All right, this is the audio text for the week 21-22 assessment. Listen now to the sweet, soothing sounds of my voice. Natural selection. Charles Darwin's 1831 journey abroad, the HMS Beagle, has taken on nearly mythic proportions in the annals of science. During a 5-week stay in the Galapagos Island, Darwin found a unique opportunity to witness the effect of evolution. Each island in the Galapagos is a distinct environment inhabited by species not found anywhere else in the world. Darwin, a naturalist, collected many of these species. As he studied them, he noticed variations in certain traits that seemed to give species a particular advantage in their native habitat. There were too many examples for this to be a coincidence. Darwin concluded that the species had come to be the way they were because of natural selection. He eventually published his theory in the landmark book On the Origin of Species in 1859. Darwin may not have been the first to conceive of biological evolution, but his findings in the Galapagos provided some of the most compelling evidence for the theory. Since then, the phrases natural selection and survival of the fittest have become common parlance. But contrary to some interpretations, natural selection does not mean that some omnipotent force is actively assigning or selecting its favorite traits in species. It means that individuals with advantageous traits are more likely to survive and reproduce. Those that do pass those traits on to their offspring. Similarly, the ideas of fitness expressed in survival of the fittest do not necessarily mean lean and muscular. The fittest species are those that have a trait that gives them a selective advantage in their environment. This means that slower or weaker species can still be the fittest if they live in an environment that rewards other traits. For example, cockroaches are relatively small, slow animals, but their flexible diet and nocturnal preferences allow them to live almost anywhere and avoid predation. Natural selection is predicated on two assumptions. First, the main motivation of a species is to reproduce. Second, there are differences among individuals in a single species. The drive to reproduce means that a species will continue to reproduce offspring until their environment cannot support them. At this point, some individuals will die off. The ones that survive will do so because they have a selective advantage in their environment. Moths provide one example of a selective advantage. To hide from predators, moths rely on their color to blend in the surfaces they land on. Moths that are less visible are more likely to survive and pass on their coloring to their offspring. Meanwhile, moths that stand out may be eaten because before they have a chance to reproduce. The traits that are most beneficial in a given environment will continue to pass down through the generations until they have become more common. Finches were the first species to cement the idea of natural selection for Darwin. He collected 13 different finch varieties in the Galapagos Islands. All were descendants of one ancestral species. Darwin observed, though, that the finches from different locations had variations in the shapes and sizes of their beaks. After comparing the food available in each finch's habitat, he realized that the different styles of beak corresponded to the different diets the birds ate. For example, finches living near cacti would not be able to eat if their beaks could not reach the cactus seeds. Therefore, cactus finches that had developed long, thin beaks through random mutations had been more likely to survive in that habitat and had passed that trait on to their descendants. On the other hand, finches with short beaks thrived in environments where they could pick seeds off the ground. Over time, each environment privileged those finches that were better suited to its conditions. Finches without such adaptations died out. Eventually, the ones that survived evolved into a distinct species. Darwin brought the theory of natural selection to a global audience with his 1859 book On the Origin of Species. It sparked controversy with the implication that even human beings were subject to the whims of nature. Some people didn't want to believe that humans could have descended from apes. As modern biology has developed, though, most of the basic tenets of Darwin's theory have held true because of the undeniable evidence in its favor. Evolution has come to be accepted as scientific truth.